In the vast tapestry of Greek mythology, few creatures are as iconic and terrifying as Cerberus, the multi-headed hound of Hades. Standing as the vigilant guardian of the underworld, Cerberus is a symbol of the boundary between the world of the living and the dead. His story intertwines with gods, heroes, and the very essence of the afterlife. This tale explores the origins, nature, and encounters of this fearsome beast, revealing a creature as complex as the world he guards. Cerberus was not born into an ordinary family of gods or mortals. Instead, he was the offspring of two of the most formidable and terrifying beings in all of Greek mythology, Typhon and Echidna. These two creatures were often referred to as the parents of monsters, a title they earned by producing some of the most fearsome beasts ever to walk the earth or dwell in its dark recesses. Typhon, the father of Cerberus, was a monstrous giant born from Gaia, the earth, and Tartarus, the deepest abyss of the underworld. Described in ancient texts as a colossal figure with 100 dragon heads emerging from his shoulders, each head capable of emitting different terrifying sounds, Typhon was a force of pure chaos and destruction. His body was said to be so vast that his head brushed the stars, and his lower half was composed of serpents that writhed endlessly. Typhon's mere presence struck fear into the hearts of gods and mortals alike. He challenged Zeus for supremacy over the cosmos, and in a titanic battle, he was ultimately defeated and imprisoned beneath Mount Etna, where his anger and power were said to cause volcanic eruptions. Echidna, Typhon's consort and the mother of Cerberus, was equally terrifying. Often depicted as a creature with the upper body of a beautiful woman and the lower body of a serpent, Echidna was known as the mother of all monsters. She resided in a deep cave hidden away from the world, where she birthed and nurtured her monstrous children. Despite her grotesque form, Echidna was not merely a figure of horror, but also of maternal power, fiercely protective of her offspring. Among her other children were the Lernaean Hydra, the Chimera, and the Sphinx, all creatures that would go on to play significant roles in various Greek myths. From this union of terror and monstrosity was born Cerberus, a creature destined for a unique role in the divine order. While his siblings roamed the earth or wreaked havoc in their own ways, Cerberus was chosen for a special purpose by Hades, the god of the underworld. Hades, recognizing the ferocity and loyalty embedded in Cerberus's very being, appointed him as the guardian of the gates of the underworld, a task that would define the creature's existence. Cerberus was no ordinary dog. He was a beast with 3 heads, each one fierce and vigilant. Some legends even suggest that he had as many as 50 or 100 heads, though the most common depiction is of 3. Each head had its own personality, but all were equally savage and relentless in their duty. Along with his 3 heads, Cerberus was often described as having a serpent's tail and snakes writhing from his back, adding to his terrifying appearance. His fangs dripped with venom, and his eyes burned with the fires of the underworld, ensuring that none could pass by him unnoticed. As Cerberus grew, so did his reputation. The underworld, or Hades' realm, was a place where the souls of the dead resided, and its gates were the boundary between the living world and the world of the dead. Cerberus was tasked with guarding these gates, ensuring that no soul could escape and return to the land of the living, and that no living being could enter without the permission of Hades. This role was crucial in maintaining the balance between life and death, as the escape of a soul could disrupt the natural order, leading to chaos. Cerberus was more than just a guard dog. He was a symbol of the finality of death, the inevitability of the afterlife, and the impenetrable boundary between the two worlds. His presence at the gates served as a constant reminder to the souls entering the underworld that there was no return, no escape from their fate. His ferocity ensured that even the bravest of souls would not dare to challenge him, and his loyalty to Hades was unwavering. Cerberus's role as the guardian of the underworld was not just a physical task, but also a psychological one. His fearsome appearance and reputation were enough to instill dread in those who approached the gates, reinforcing the idea that death was something to be respected and feared. Even the gods respected Cerberus, recognizing the importance of his role in maintaining the natural order of the cosmos. However, Cerberus's duty was not without challenges. Over the ages, there were a few who dared to confront the beast, seeking to pass through the gates of the underworld for various reasons. One of the most famous of these encounters was with the hero Heracles, known in Roman mythology as Hercules. Heracles was the son of Zeus and was famed for his incredible strength and bravery. His life was marked by a series of challenges known as the 12 labors, feats of strength and endurance that were meant to atone for a crime he committed under the influence of madness inflicted by Hera, the jealous wife of Zeus. The capture of Cerberus was the 12th and final labor assigned to Heracles, and it was considered the most difficult. Unlike the other labors, which involved slaying or capturing beasts in the mortal world, this task required Heracles to descend into the underworld itself, a place where no living mortal had ever ventured and returned. To accomplish this, Heracles first had to gain permission from Hades, a feat in itself, as the Lord of the Dead was not known for his hospitality towards the living. When Heracles arrived at the gates of the underworld, he was confronted by Cerberus, the ferocious guardian who barred his way. Heracles, however, was not deterred. Armed with his immense strength and aided by the divine favor of the gods, Heracles engaged Cerberus in a fierce struggle. Unlike previous encounters where brute force had been his solution, Heracles knew that he could not kill Cerberus, as this would anger Hades and upset the balance of the underworld. Instead, he opted to subdue the beast. Using his lion skin cloak for protection, Heracles wrestled with Cerberus, enduring the snapping jaws of the three heads and the lashing of the serpent tail. The battle was intense, with Cerberus's roars echoing through the caverns of the underworld. Heracles, drawing on his unparalleled strength, eventually managed to overpower Cerberus, not through sheer force, but by outlasting the beast's ferocity. He wrapped his arms around Cerberus, squeezing until the beast submitted. Once subdued, Cerberus recognized the hero's strength and, perhaps out of respect or sheer exhaustion, allowed Heracles to lead him out of the underworld. With Cerberus in tow, Heracles ascended to the surface world, completing his final labor. The sight of the monstrous hound of Hades in the mortal realm was a sight few had ever imagined, and it cemented Heracles' status as the greatest of all Greek heroes. However, Heracles did not keep Cerberus in the world of the living for long. Respecting the natural order, he soon returned the beast to the underworld, where Cerberus resumed his role as the guardian of the gates. This encounter with Heracles was not just a test of strength, but also a testament to the bond between gods, heroes, and the creatures of myth. It demonstrated that even the most fearsome beings could be confronted, and that the natural order of life and death was something that even the mightiest of heroes respected. For Cerberus, the encounter with Heracles was a reminder that while he was a fearsome guardian, there were forces in the world that even he, with all his power, could not fully resist. In addition to Heracles, Cerberus had other notable encounters that further solidified his place in mythology. One such encounter involved Orpheus, the legendary musician and poet. Orpheus was not a warrior like Heracles, but his skills lay in his music, which was said to be so beautiful that it could charm anyone, even the gods themselves. When Orpheus's beloved wife, Eurydice, died and descended into the underworld, Orpheus was determined to bring her back. Armed only with his lyre, Orpheus journeyed to the gates of the underworld and confronted Cerberus. Rather than engaging the beast in battle, Orpheus played his lyre, filling the air with melodies so enchanting that even Cerberus, the fierce guardian, was calmed. The music soothed the savage beast, and for the first time, Cerberus allowed a living soul to pass through the gates of the underworld unchallenged. Orpheus's passage into the underworld was a testament to the power of art and love, showing that even the most fearsome creatures could be moved by beauty and emotion. Another notable story involving Cerberus was that of Psyche, a mortal woman who was tasked with performing a series of impossible tasks by the goddess Aphrodite. One of these tasks required Psyche to journey to the underworld and retrieve a box of beauty from Persephone, the queen of the underworld. Like Orpheus, Psyche had to confront Cerberus at the gates. However, she did not possess the strength of Heracles or the musical talents of Orpheus. Instead, Psyche used her wits, bringing with her a few honeyed cakes, which she offered to Cerberus. The beast, momentarily distracted by the sweet treats, allowed Psyche to pass unharmed, once again demonstrating that even the most terrifying creatures could be outwitted with the right approach. Through these encounters, Cerberus became more than just a monster. He became a symbol of the challenges that heroes and mortals alike must face in their journeys. Whether through strength, art, or cunning, those who confronted Cerberus were tested in ways that reflected their true character, and the stories of their encounters became legendary. Despite these moments of interaction with heroes and mortals, Cerberus's primary role remained unchanged. He continued to guard the gates of the underworld with unwavering loyalty, ensuring that the dead remained in their rightful place and that the living respected the boundaries between life and death. His presence at the gates was a reminder that the journey to the afterlife was a one-way passage, and that the mysteries of death were not to be trifled with. Cerberus's legacy as the Hound of Hades endures to this day, a testament to the enduring power of myth and the fascination with the boundary between life and death. He is not just a creature of terror, but also a guardian of the natural order, a symbol of the finality of death, and a reminder of the challenges that all must face in their journey through life. While the story of Heracles' capture of Cerberus is perhaps the most famous, the mythological guardian of the underworld appears in several other myths, each of which sheds light on different facets of his nature and the roles he played within the complex world of Greek mythology. One of the most poignant and powerful stories involving Cerberus is that of Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus, a legendary musician and poet, was so gifted that his music could enchant all living things, and even inanimate objects. Trees would lean closer to hear his melodies, and rivers would pause in their flow to listen to his songs. Orpheus was deeply in love with his wife, Eurydice, and when she tragically died from a snake bite, his grief was so profound that he resolved to descend into the underworld to bring her back to life. The journey to the underworld was fraught with peril, as no living being was meant to enter the realm of the dead and return. However, Orpheus's love for Eurydice was so strong that he was willing to face any danger. When he reached the gates of the underworld, he encountered Cerberus, the fierce three-headed guardian. Unlike Heracles, Orpheus did not rely on physical strength to subdue Cerberus. Instead, he drew his lyre and began to play a melody of such beauty and sorrow that it softened even the heart of the monstrous hound. The music had a profound effect on Cerberus, calming his savage nature and allowing Orpheus to pass unchallenged into the depths of the underworld. This encounter illustrates a different aspect of Cerberus's character, his susceptibility to the power of music and emotion. While he was a creature of ferocity and strength, bound to his duty by the will of Hades, the story of Orpheus reveals that even Cerberus could be touched by the beauty of art. It also highlights the theme of love's power to overcome the most formidable obstacles, even those that stand between life and death. Orpheus's music not only charmed Cerberus, but also softened the hearts of Hades and Persephone, the rulers of the underworld, who ultimately granted Orpheus permission to take Eurydice back to the world of the living, though this permission came with a tragic condition that would later result in Orpheus's loss. Another myth involving Cerberus is the story of Psyche, a mortal woman whose beauty was so great that it sparked the jealousy of the goddess Aphrodite. As a result, Psyche was subjected to a series of impossible tasks, the final one requiring her to descend into the underworld and retrieve a box containing a portion of Persephone's beauty. Like Orpheus, Psyche had to face Cerberus at the gates of the underworld. But unlike Orpheus, she had no divine music to soothe the beast. Instead, Psyche relied on her cleverness. Knowing that Cerberus was a creature of instinct, she brought with her some honeyed cakes, which she offered to the hound. Cerberus, distracted by the sweet treats, allowed Psyche to pass unharmed. Psyche's encounter with Cerberus highlights the theme of intellect and cunning triumphing over brute strength. While Cerberus was a formidable opponent, he could be outwitted by those who understood his nature. Psyche's use of honeyed cakes reflects the importance of understanding and exploiting the weaknesses of even the most powerful beings. This story also reinforces the idea that the underworld, while a place of death and despair, was governed by rules that even its monstrous inhabitants adhered to. Psyche's success in navigating these rules and in placating Cerberus was a testament to her determination and resourcefulness. In addition to these more famous stories, Cerberus also appears in various other myths and legends, often serving as a symbol of the boundary between the living and the dead. For example, in the story of Aeneas, the Trojan hero who traveled to the underworld in search of his father, Cerberus once again played his role as the gatekeeper. Aeneas, with the guidance of the Sibyl of Cumae, a prophetess who served as his guide, was able to enter the underworld by offering Cerberus a drugged honey cake, which caused the beast to fall into a deep sleep. This allowed Aeneas to pass through the gates unchallenged, further emphasizing Cerberus's role as both a physical and symbolic barrier between worlds. Cerberus also appears in the myths of the ancient Greeks' neighbors, such as the Etruscans and Romans, who adapted many aspects of Greek mythology into their own. In these cultures, Cerberus was often depicted similarly to his Greek portrayal, though sometimes with additional features or differing numbers of heads. The Etruscans, for example, sometimes depicted Cerberus with 2 heads instead of 3, reflecting their own interpretations of the myth. These variations show how Cerberus's image was flexible, and could be adapted to different cultural contexts while still maintaining his essential role as the guardian of the underworld. Beyond these mythological narratives, Cerberus's presence in Greek culture extended to art, literature, and religious practices. He was a popular subject in ancient Greek art, particularly in vase paintings and sculptures, where he was often depicted alongside Hades or Heracles. These representations typically emphasized his fearsome appearance, with his 3 heads, serpent tail, and the snakes that sometimes adorned his back. In these artworks, Cerberus was often shown in scenes of mythological significance, such as Heracles' capture of the beast, or the hero's journey through the underworld. Literary references to Cerberus also abound in ancient Greek texts. Poets and playwrights often invoked Cerberus as a symbol of death and the afterlife, using his image to convey the inescapable nature of death and the eternal separation between the living and the dead. In these works, Cerberus was sometimes portrayed as a figure of terror, but also as a necessary part of the cosmic order, a being who ensured that the boundaries between life and death were respected. The influence of Cerberus extended beyond ancient Greece, with his image and symbolism persisting throughout the centuries. In Roman mythology, Cerberus retained much of his Greek character, though he was sometimes depicted in a more subdued manner, reflecting the Romans' different cultural attitudes toward death and the afterlife. Roman poets such as Virgil and Ovid included Cerberus in their works, using his image to explore themes of mortality, heroism, and the afterlife. During the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, Cerberus continued to be a popular figure in European art and literature. Medieval scholars and artists, drawing on classical sources, often depicted Cerberus in religious and allegorical contexts, where he represented the dangers of the afterlife and the trials that the soul must endure after death. In Renaissance art, Cerberus appeared in works that sought to revive the classical traditions of ancient Greece and Rome, with artists such as Dante Alighieri and Michelangelo incorporating him into their visions of the underworld. In more modern times, Cerberus has remained a powerful symbol in literature, film, and popular culture. He often appears in works that explore themes of death, the afterlife, and the supernatural, where he continues to serve as a guardian of the threshold between worlds. For example, in modern fantasy literature and video games, Cerberus is frequently depicted as a formidable opponent, embodying the challenges that heroes must overcome to achieve their goals. His image is also used in various symbolic contexts, representing the inevitability of death and the challenges of confronting one's mortality. Cerberus's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of myth and the timeless appeal of stories that explore the mysteries of life and death. As the guardian of the underworld, Cerberus represents the ultimate boundary, a barrier that few can cross and fewer still can return from. His presence in myth serves as a reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death, themes that resonate across cultures and eras. In addition to his symbolic role, Cerberus also serves as a reflection of the human fascination with the unknown. The underworld, as a place of mystery and terror, represents the ultimate unknown, and Cerberus, as its guardian, embodies the fears and anxieties that surround the concept of death. Yet, at the same time, Cerberus's various encounters with heroes and mortals also show that even the most fearsome barriers can be overcome, whether through strength, cunning, or the power of art and love. Cerberus's image continues to evolve, adapting to new cultural contexts while retaining his core identity as the guardian of the underworld. In modern interpretations, he is often portrayed as a complex figure, one who is both fearsome and tragic, a being who is bound to his duty by forces beyond his control. This complexity adds depth to his character, making him more than just a monster, but a symbol of the challenges and mysteries that define the human experience. As a creature of myth, Cerberus has transcended the boundaries of time and culture, becoming a universal symbol of the challenges that lie at the intersection of life and death. His story continues to captivate and inspire, reminding us of the enduring power of myth and the timeless appeal of the tales that explore the deepest questions of existence. Whether as a guardian, a symbol, or a character in a story, Cerberus remains one of the most iconic and enduring figures in the rich tapestry of Greek mythology.